Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. Happy Friday to you. We're taking another look here at Bitcoin, seeing what's going on, of course. And if you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, link in the description below if you want to become a better trader. CryptoCache.tech. I send out signals for every single trade that I take. We've been doing very well recently. And more important though, I actually have a trading academy that teaches you how to be a better trader. And that's the whole purpose of this channel, right? Is to make sure you're self-sufficient, you can do your own thing. So hopefully you can learn a thing or two here today. Now, that being said, with Bitcoin, we're just going to be pretty quick and pretty brief today. Just kind of reiterating some obvious stuff, but also kind of confirming a few things too. So what I mean by that is taking a look here at, basically the total big picture here, right? Look at the big picture on the one-day chart. We can see that the RSI right now for Bitcoin, it's trending right at 50. Now you could say it's below, but this one-day candlestick hasn't closed yet. So if we can close above, it'd be really nice to kind of get that bounce to the upside, get that continuation, so to speak. But the bottom line here is that we are ascending in this type of triangle pattern. And basically, the longer we stay in this, the better, because of course it'll continue to average out, right? It'll eventually break to the upside. Now, will it break 41,500 again? Yeah, that's pretty good likelihood. We're basically range trading right now between 37,000 and 46,000. Okay. So again, the sooner you can establish what type of trading style that you're in, the better you can adapt and become, just effectively more consistent. What I mean by that is I cover this in my trading academy, whereas there's three different types of patterns. There's descending type of patterns, right, where the price is actually coming down. We've seen that a lot recently from November until even now, if you look at Bitcoin on the big picture. But that's kind of the first one. In other words, that can be difficult. The success rate is a lot lower. Range trading has a higher success rate because you're going sideways, right? You're just basically going sideways within a specific established support and resistance levels. It's easier to trade in, but recently it's been choppy waters, right? So simply put, Bitcoin has been very difficult to gauge. You want to have a larger stop loss in place. So when we get these large candle wicks, you don't get stopped out like a lot of other folks, okay? So again, that's why we have a larger range here recently. If you notice my signals have been sending out, we had 36,800 as a recent support level because that's lower than the most recent lowest wick. All right. So again, there's different schools of thought that go into that, but generally speaking, you want to be careful with a tight stop loss right now because the price action is jumping around 5 to 10% per day. It's a pretty big jump. So anyways, we're range trading right now. And of course, the last one would be breakout trading, when the price is ascending, so to speak, and which we're kind of in that, minus the fact that we are effectively range trading too. So we're ascending / range trading right now. So mostly good stuff in that sense. You'd be surprised how effective this kind of trading can be. Again, that's just kind of the bottom line here and where we're at. So not dire straits at all by any means. Yesterday's correction makes sense, of course, considering the overall circumstances with the news. And at this point in time, based on the TA alone, we're looking good. Okay, I would say more so average, but the best thing here that we can acknowledge is that we are an ascending type of pattern, and this trend line is continuing. It has the one-day candlestick hasn't closed below 35, 37, now 38. So hypothetically, the next point in which we're going to stop would be 39,000, and then potentially 40, and then 41.5 will be the next. Okay, it'll continue to go. Now, will it break out and go crazy? Yeah, there's a potential for that, but we got to break 46,000 before I have any confidence in Bitcoin being back on track. For now, we're just kind of going sideways, for lack of better terms, in this interesting little ascending channel. All right, so just kind of acknowledge that. The sooner you come to terms with that, the better, and use that to your advantage. That's the whole point, right? Identifying and adapting to your environment as a trader. That's the purpose of obviously just being successful is to have that adaptation. If you try to say the same every single time, you're never going to work. You gotta iron out specific little things that work out best for your risk tolerance, obviously. All right, anyways, enough about that. So I'm looking at the 4-hour chart, touching on the RSI as well. We're stuck under 50 on the RSI. That's tentatively disadvantageous. But when you see that and you take a look here, well, why are we getting rejected? Well, 1, 2, 3 out of the last 8 candlesticks have gotten stopped out at 40,200, basically 40,000. But this is a key level Fibonacci retracement level, and that actually has been a previous support level too. So 40,200 is effectively a case in point where the price is having trouble breaking that. Now, you could argue that we are kind of just working ourselves into another type of wedge here. There's potential for that. But once more, at this point, a little too early to tell, but obviously 40,200 is a point of contention where the bears are not willing to let the price pass that point. Okay, And the inverse could apply as well. You could kind of draw a little extra trend line here too, and just say that, hey, we're going to eventually break above 40,200. All right, we're going to probably hit 41,200 or 41.5 again. I think that's an inevitability personally, just based on these overall trend lines, and the trend lines are looking pretty good. So again, just something to note. That's kind of roughly where we're at. I would say the trend lines are probably the most important aspect of trading and identifying that. And right now we can identify, obviously, we're in this slowly progressing upward increase. In other words, every 2 weeks the price increases an average of $2,000 for Bitcoin. At this rate, by the end of April, we'll probably be testing 46,000 again if it continues to progress like it has, and then we'll eventually have that breakout to the upside. That's an eventuality. For right now, though, unfortunately, we're kind of just slowly, well, I wouldn't say slow because it's a pretty significant increase and a pretty significant decrease. But for the most part, there is consistency in the fact that the average price is increasing as far as the average low, if that makes any sense. All right, so anyways, look at the 1 hour chart here, taking a look at the, let's go ahead and take a look at the cloud. And we can see, obviously, we're still stuck under the cloud, so taking a confident position right now isn't necessarily there. So once again, choppy waters. I've explained this to my community as well earlier today, just explaining, hey, we're more so range bound. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that with it being as choppy as it is, sharp increases and sharp decreases, you got to be careful with a tight stop loss. It's another question I got too, is like, hey, why was your stop loss so low? Your risk to reward ratio is like a 1-to-3 instead of a 3-to-1. Well, there's a different psychology there. This kind of environment breeds the extreme volatility. And when the price is jumping 5 or 10% per day, you have a tight stop loss, you're going to get stopped out. So you might want to have a little bit of a looser stop loss, but acknowledging the fact that we're in a trend to the upside. Okay. If we're in a trend to the downside, it'd be a different story. I'd probably have the inverse pairing for, just say a short position and or, BTC3. There's different things you can kind of think of, but simply put, try not to, feel that you're in terrible shape right now, or Bitcoin's in dire straits. It's not performing poorly. Yes, it's a little too high or too low for some folks, but this is pretty standard stuff. Either way, looking at the 1 hour chart, we can see our conversion line passed the baseline here on the cloud. That's extremely important. That's kind of like the first signal to let you know that a potential position might be advantageous if other factors are present. Now, we don't have other factors, of course, on the cloud itself. In other words, that we're underneath the cloud still. We got effectively rejected by the cloud here, so there's potential the price could continue down. There's also the fact that the lagging span is not free and clear of any price action. It's kind of just stuck in here somewhere. And until that's free, we don't have any reason to take entry. And the likelihood of it being free, unless Bitcoin breaks 41,000 soon, or sorry, 40,100, 40,200, is effectively very low, because obviously, just say the price were to come up and do this, then the lagging span would be here, and it wouldn't be free and clear until, just say, sometime later tonight or early tomorrow. So we don't really have a green light, so to speak, from the cloud to give us an entry point. And this is something I use very consistently. I can tell you it's very successful. Get familiar with the cloud. I have a cloud video, or a video regarding the Ichimoku cloud and how to use it effectively. I also cover it more in depth in my Trading Academy. But simply put, we have 1 out of 3 indicators here telling us that we might want to consider a position. And basically, it also tells you too, though, that if you have a short position, you may want to consider closing it, because that window of opportunity is disappearing. All right. Again, just based on the cloud as a conservative indicator, doesn't necessarily, it's not 100%. All right. So that's kind of where we're at there. Let's take a look quickly at TD Sequential. We can see we hit a 9 and got a reset. That makes perfect sense. That's very standard. So this same school of thought, we could potentially see a downside for another 8 hours. I don't think it's going to come that low based on the overall ways in which the price is averaging itself out. 38,800 is reaffirming itself as this nice strong support, especially if we look at the larger time frames here. You can see it's holding pretty darn strong and consistent. So all in all, I'm not super worried about TD Sequential telling us that we just got a reset. I think we're going to probably only see 2 or 3 more hours worth of downside, a likely test of 38.8 again, and kind of just hang out here for a little while, and likely a slow progression upwards over the weekend, but it just depends on how we close out the trading day today. Closing the trading day on a Friday is always interesting. It seems to have an inverse effect. In other words, if we have a green week, which we kind of have, we're still up technically a little bit since Monday, then usually you see a pretty red correction on Friday, right? That those profits are trying to be taken before the weekend occurs. And then followed by a green weekend. We could experience that. So we could see a little sell-off here today, closer to the end of the day, and then a slow recovery over the weekend. Or the inverse as well, we could experience a very sharp increase near the end of today, and then a red weekend too. But usually you don't see a nice green Friday and a nice green weekend. It's rare that happens. I would love to see that, of course, but in my experience, I've noticed that it's pretty consistent with the inverse. So whatever you see the close for today, we could very well see the opposite direction. Again, it's never foolproof, right? We got to recognize that patterns have a tendency of repeating themselves, but they do not have to. So I would love to see if that was wrong. I would really like to see the price slowly progress upwards over the weekend, and then obviously the natural sell-off on Monday, and then a green week. That'd be probably the best case scenario, because that'd give us that consistent progression. But regardless of speculation at this point, the likelihood of Bitcoin increasing from here is still higher than it is decreasing from here overall. And again, the main reason why is these trend lines. You got to understand the trend is your friend, and we are effectively trending positively. We've seen it very consistent. Once again, 35,000, 37,000, and then once again 38 for the next recent test. So this was a 1 month time frame. This is a 2 week time frame. So every 2 weeks we are just slowly increasing the price and the overall value. All right. That has to speak for something. Plus, if you look at the big picture too, just something to also note, we have a tremendous amount of volume at the current price point just below. So when you have a lot of volume at a specific price point, such as 37,000, and that price remains below, that's creating a stronger foundation of volume to build on, and the price is going to slowly progress upwards. But as you can see here, there is a bit of a gap, right? We're basically filling that gap, for lack of better terms here, between 40,000 and 46,000, because there's a low amount of volume. So that's why we're going to probably spend more time between 40 and 46 here soon, based on the simple fact that there's not a tremendous amount of volume there, and we need to build that foundation. All right, strong foundation gives you strong results. So again, that's just kind of something to think about, but just overall kind of an overlooked aspect of trading, which is again the volume. So either way, that's kind of where we're at here. All good stuff. I have no worries at all. There's a great chance we could see a little bit of a retracement today, but I think it'll be followed by a recovery. As long as we do not break down below 37,000, we get a close below 37,000, that would effectively imply that we're making lower lows. That would be disadvantageous. For right now, these higher lows are extremely important and very helpful. I hope you learned something here today. If you're not currently a community member, consider joining. Link in the description below, CryptoCache.tech. I look forward to working with you. Hope you have a great rest of your day.